Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan, and he's a Corgi, and we are here for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. Hi, Danny. Oh my God, so much snow in South Dakota. I guess your shovel will be buried if it's outside. So today we're going to continue our chat about fascia. Sorry I missed you on Wednesday. We had a snow day and I was really sick, and then yesterday my usual educator job happened on Thursday instead of Wednesday. So here we are, Friday morning. So today I want to talk about acupuncture and fascia. Now, acupuncture is becoming increasingly available for our pets. Many vets are trained in acupuncture through the Chi Institute in Florida, which is a 5-element approach, which is typical with acupuncture. But actually there is a Chinese and a Japanese approach to acupuncture, and they are slightly different. I think the Japanese is a little less invasive. They use smaller needles. And I've had both, and I have to say I've had personally, I'm super sensitive, a better reaction with Japanese acupuncture, but I just don't do well with any kind of acupuncture, so I will not be getting acupuncture or even acupressure ever again. Anyway, but with our dogs, it can be really helpful with arthritis and with lameness and with injury, even sort of a low-level chronic depression that could indicate sort of pain in their body. And in fact, acupuncture can be really helpful for fascia problems. So here is my acupuncture dog. You can see he's got places on him where the acupuncture points are. You can't see it so well because, you know, after all, we have an iPhone here and not like some fancy camera. But there are many points along the spine and along the limbs and even on the inside of the hind legs and the front legs. And the basis of acupuncture is to put needles in these points, and certain meridians, which are lines of energy through the body, are associated with organ systems and specific organs. And so you can make profound changes throughout the body by using acupuncture on these meridians. And certain combinations of the meridians can be really helpful to make changes in chronic health conditions. And it's, you know, I think it's a really important adjunct therapy that we have available to our pets now. And there are, you know, many acupuncture vets in my area. And how do I pick the right one? I tend to go for one who does other work as well, soft tissue work, or prescribes Chinese herbs or homeopathy, and anyone that I think has a bit of an ability to tune in, because part of good acupuncture for me is knowing what is the origin of what you're treating and getting those needles that are going to best address that, as opposed to just treating the symptoms. And a lot of that is intuitive. So I have a couple of really good acupuncture vets around here that I choose. So what does acupuncture have to do with fascia? Because you're still on the superficial level of the skin with those needles. They don't go in very deep. However, fascia runs directly under the bottom layer of the skin, and in fact there's fascia rolled into each layer of the skin as well. So even something as superficial as an acupuncture needle is going to be impacting the fascia. And one of the most interesting experiences I've had with acupuncture was with a thin senior horse. And I was there while he was getting his acupuncture treatment for chronic digestive problems, which made him super cranky, very difficult, tending to bite, tending to kick, did not like to be brushed. I mean, he was really elderly and just a pasture pet, but he was kind of dangerous because he was in so much GI distress. And so we were treating him with an acupuncture treatment once a week to address these GI issues, because I knew that that would make a quick change. He was also on Chinese herbs. So I was there, as I was every week, to do body work with him, and I was just having my hands over those areas we do in craniosacral therapy, where I told you about the fascia coming together like a busy intersection where the longitudinal and latitudinal fibers cross, which would be over the big joints of the body, at the lumbar thoracic junction, the thoracocervical junction, and the cervical junction with the head, and even with the hyoid connection to the neck. And so I was working on, some place probably down by the horse's sacrum, and some needles were up around his mid-back and shoulders. And as I was working and shifting the alignment of the fascial fibers in his hind end, I could see the acupuncture needles moving back and forth and turning and unturning and shifting around. And the whole time this was happening, the horse was not in discomfort at all. He was doing what lots of horses do when something feels good, which is sticking out his upper lip and going, because it was kind of like those spots that are in pain can sometimes be itchy and irritated. And so he was feeling really good about what was happening. And don't forget, pain and itching travel on the same nerve fibers of the body, which is in itself interesting in terms of acupuncture. So I could see clearly with this slim horse with his winter coat that in fact there were profound changes in the fascia extending throughout his body just from what I was doing on his hind end. Again, craniosacral therapy with the pressure of the weight of a nickel even on a big horse. And that really is just the weight of my hand practically or less against his tissue. So I could see other needles in the body moving, and I could see shifts in his muscular arrangement from what I was doing based on what the acupuncture needles were doing. So I do think acupuncture is a really good way to address fascial issues if your animal has them, which again is frequent in horses because of all the pasture injuries and the way they bite each other, and they're big animals, and they slide in the ice and the snow and the mud, and they get exuberant and run around the pasture and make sharp turns before they run into a fence, and they can get sprains and strains so easily. And even our dogs can do that when they're younger. There's a dog up the road who is a leggy young 2-year-old lab mix, and boy, he just gets running so fast his body can hardly keep up with his legs, and if he stops or turns, his legs go one way and his body goes the other, and he ends up with a sore back. So in that case, acupuncture can be really a useful way to relieve some of the tension in the fascia where it is not properly aligned due to an injury. And for so many people, your acupuncture vet may be the only person you can find in the area to release fascia for your pet or your horse, and that is totally fine. As I mentioned before, when we're working on fascia, you need to use a light force held for a long time and create that fulcrum so that the tissue can align around it. And that's exactly what an acupuncture needle does. You place that needle in a position and it stays pretty stationary. I mean, even with that horse, when it was twisting and moving, it was doing it while it was still on its acupuncture point. And so it was still creating a fulcrum in that area and allowing the tissue to unravel and realign around it. And that is true for acupuncture needles all over the body. So acupuncture, although off the top of your head, it may not seem like the first thing you do for fascial restrictions, it actually can be super beneficial. So consider that if you know that you have an animal with problems in his fascia or old injuries, sports injuries, playing injuries, puppyhood injuries, kicking, biting in the pasture, or even a cat that had a hard time fitting in when he was new and got chased and jumped and slid around more than he would have liked. Acupuncture can be super useful to release those fascial restrictions. So, do you have anything more to say about acupuncture? He's only had acupuncture once or twice with my sister. He had a sore shoulder for a while there, but that was when he got acupuncture. He hasn't had as much. My boy Comet had a lot of acupuncture treatments, especially near the end of his time here when he had DM. And acupuncture, for those who have dogs with DM, can be super useful. And acupuncture is good for pain management, and also when you have DM or in your dog, acupuncture, electric acupuncture in particular, can really help keep those nerves going as long as possible. I think acupuncture is a really valuable part of senior pet care. Do you need to go every week? No, once a month, every 6 weeks. But every once in a while, it can really bring your dog some relief. And Danny says she's had acupuncture for pain, but it didn't help her, but she did like the sessions. And, there are many reasons that people can have pain. Sometimes with acupuncture, it doesn't get to all of the layers of an injury, which are physical, spiritual, emotional, and structural. And so sometimes acupuncture will address some of that and not others. I have a client who likes acupuncture, and with one acupuncturist during a particularly emotional time in this client's life, she was able to get some spiritual and emotional relief from acupuncture. But now it's 20 years later, and she's going to a different acupuncturist, and even that same one, but she doesn't have those revelations and sense of peace around some issues that were coming up for her in those old sessions. So it isn't accessing in a deep way some of those other layers that it was for her initially. And so that's often why people don't have full pain relief from acupuncture. And again, just like anything, you have to know where to put the needles. I had a client, a human, who had chronic knee pain, and she was a very active tax lady in her 60s, early 70s, and her knee was structurally okay. There was really nothing going on in her knee after I had treated it and I'd given her exercises and all of that PT stuff, and I knew the knee was connected to a particular acupuncture point in her shoulder, which was incredibly painful. So I sent her out for acupuncture. Well, one session and her knee pain vanished and never came back. So if someone had been putting needles along her back and to access that place in her knee where the pain was, or even indeed treating her for ACL or MCL tears, they would not have had the success. So part of success with acupuncture is knowing where the needles need to go. I knew that acupuncturist quite well that I sent her to, and I did send a letter along with her indicating that I felt that the shoulder point, which was connected to the knee, was in fact where she had their problems. And so acupuncture made a huge change for her. So in terms of just physical fascial restrictions, and fascia, remember, does hold spiritual and emotional issues as well as physical. But for physical issues in the fascia, acupuncture can be really effective, and it can address those other areas too, but not every time in every session. So, have any other questions about acupuncture, you can write it under this post, and we will be back tomorrow with another very interesting modality for treating fascia. I think you guys will find this kind of fascinating, as I always have, and I learned about it through T-Touch. So thanks for joining us today. It's National Pizza Day. Tristan's going to have to post a picture of himself with some pizza. And apparently there's like cheese pizza day, meat pizza day. Today is actual all pizza day. So it's an equal opportunity pizza loving day. And we have a lot of clients today because of the snow. Things got shifted around, so we're pretty busy. And right now I have to go out and try to clear my steps so my clients can get in here. It's very icy. So, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning. I think it's Saturday, so it'll be closer to 9:30. Oh, just little Bisky's hiding. He was such a good boy last night. I did a long Skype interview with him on my lap for an hour and a half, and he was getting tired of holding himself from sliding off. You're cute today, though, Biscuit. You're cute. Come back. You're sliding off. Thanks for joining us today. Everybody have a great day. Stay warm and don't hurt yourself shoveling all that snow. Bye-bye. We'll see you tomorrow.